using your 3DE environments and models. All right. Of course, we want you to apply whatever you have learned throughout the semesters. Especially, I would say, in terms of EXD, you have to include the topic on inclusive design. In DDA, of course, it's the Firebase. In ITD, obviously, you have to do in an XR platform. So in this process, we have decided to form, everyone is to form groups of 4 or 5 within your class. So this sizing is fixed. That means, depending on your class, right? If your class is, say, 22, then it will be like 2 groups of 5 and 3 groups of 4. All right. So let me just pop over. Hang on a moment. All right. So it's something like this. So it's fixed grouping. So some groups will have 5, some groups will have 4. MO2 is fixed to 5 each since there's a very nice number of 20. MO3 is 2 groups of 5, 1 group of 4. All right. If you have your teams, you can start filling in at the same time. Please listen to what I'm trying to say. All right. So I'll briefly go through the key requirements for each module first before moving on to each lecturer trying to talk on their module. All right. So for ITD, you are supposed to create an XR world, right? Some of the key content that you have to create is, the 5 pieces of content they can place in a world and a clear game loop. So obviously, you've been doing this since many times, all right? So they must have a way to start and a way to end, of course, to close an application, all right? And one of the key things that we want you to do is actually plant it into the device itself. So you should be able to deploy it to the target platform. All right. For DDA, it's quite straightforward. Implement Firebase with authentication with Unity. And additionally, you could do the web platform. So my advice is to, of course, do more. All right. For EXD wise, you're supposed to create a concept proposal for your XR app with a heavy emphasis of good user experience. All right. Target your audience properly. All right. So different platforms will have different physical requirements also. All right. Propose your user journey and also the needs and wants. All right. Usability testing is one of the core requirements. So make sure you actually test it out. So yeah, all right. For 3D, please produce the environment, modular assets for the different scenes involved, all right? Clear definition of what each team member is supposed to do, right? Or what they did, rather, all right? Support with the VFX, support with functional assets, all right? So for each module, is 30%, that means of the entire module, with the exception to 3DE. 3DE is 20%. All right. So I'll move on to the studio, the overall topics. So within a team, you're supposed to conceptualize with your idea and the team that you want to pick, right? So we have a couple of teams to suggest. So some of you all say, oh, sometimes too open, so we should plan some teams or topic to align. All right. So some of the teams, one is the next big thing. So we know that there's metaverse, there's NFTs and Bitcoins, so you can do something about it. You can educate, you can teach people, you can train people, or you can do, like say, for example, metaverse could be how do we shop in a 3D environment, in a VR environment. So there's quite a lot of companies hopping into that. So very big brand companies are doing shopping experiences in the VR world, in the metaverse, right? Industry 4.0, education, simulation, and training. This is one of the most versatile topics that you can pick. Very suited for MR, right? The recent masterclass that you attended, Industry 4.0 is coming. How do we, best use technology to train people, All right, with the advent of COVID, the pandemic, it makes physical environments very hard to be placed, or equipment could be very expensive. All right. Let me just forgot to start the recording. All right. And the next thing is about social good and inclusive design. All right. COVID-19 has changed a lot of people's lives. In particular, mental health. All right, it's one of the hottest topics affecting countries around the world. In Singapore, there's multiple cases being reported in the news. So how can we use such technology to help us? How can we, enable people with disabilities better? All right. So I think during the masterclass, one of the speakers was saying, even with the blind, they could actually use the HoloLens. All right. So don't think so simple. Think a bit more. The next thing is about Singapore, the little red dot. So how do we educate people about the vibrancy, the culture of Singapore, all right? Different festivals, things like that. Of course, last but not least, you can always propose your own, right? So these are just guiding topics and themes for you to decide. If you have a topic in mind, please propose to your individual tutors. All right. Of course, please check in with your technical tutors. More importantly, because they can think about how you can scope your features and your requirements. All right. So the big idea and the experience itself. All right. So depending on your originality of your project, right, you could be doing an adaptation. All right, that's fine. The main thing is it okay with your tutors, so please check in as fast as possible. All right, tomorrow is your Unity certification, so that would be a good time to collect your device and bring home and test already. All right. The other thing is about inclusivity. Right, think about your inclusive design, physical space environment. So some of you, when you're doing the VR project, never pay much attention to the physical environment, the physical space. How much space do I need to allocate also? All right, how do we design for different people needs, right? So does it fulfill your target audience? So a lot of you have been doing user persona, target audience, do it properly, all right? So many times you use standard templates, fill it in. Yeah, my advice is really do it properly, right? The other one is about hardware requirements and your concepts properly executed. So different hardware will have different end requirements, especially on the MR. Your 3D models should be as low poly as possible, all right, so that it renders much faster. At the end of the day, make sure everything is smooth. Your source code production is great. 3D environments is great, all right. Pay mindful consideration to your user experience throughout. All right. Final bit is to be playable on chosen reality device. Right. Okay. Most importantly, your assignment due date is 18 Feb, week 18. All right, by 2359. All right. The next thing is by next week, you should be able to clear your idea as fast as possible with your tutors. The main overall concept is clear with Mr. Elias for ITD. All right. Any questions at this point of time, you can type it into the chat. So now I'm going to hand over to my fellow colleague, Mr. Elias for ITD. See you around.
Yep, I'm here. Okay, thanks, Malcolm. All right. Okay, so for ITD, these are the deliverables for all of you. Okay, so firstly, create your XR world. Okay, so this XR world needs to react to your users' actions. Okay, so these reactions can come in the form of feedback, audio feedback, okay, or some form of progression. Okay, and then number two, make sure you use the different features of your XR platform, right? So for AR, okay, we've seen image tracking, mid-air, ground plane stages, okay, tapping the 3D objects to interact with them, etc. Okay, then for VR, okay, you can think of physics or input-based interactions. Okay, so physics will be throwing things, okay, or detecting whether your object is moving at a high enough velocity. Okay, and then input base will be things like turning a knob, okay, or pulling something in a specific direction, things like that. And then last one, the MR platform. Right, think about your air tapping to place an object, your spatial awareness, and other features of MR. Right, then at least you must have 5 pieces of placeable content, and this content should affect the world in different ways. So the requirements for this is only one of the contents of these 5 contents may be used at the start. Okay, so the rest must be unlocked progressively throughout the application. Okay, so your player, your user has to be able to complete something and then they get a quote unquote reward, which is another piece of content that they can use to complete the application. Okay, then point number 4, your XR content must show consideration for designing for failure. Right, so what this means is, if you remember from your MR masterclass, right, Edmund, your trainer Edmund, was talking about how some users can take the model and then shoot it to the moon, right? They can take the model, place it very, very far away, and then they can't pick it up anymore, right? So he created a reset model button where he pressed and then the model will come back. Right, so that's an example of designing for failure. What happens if the user tries to deliberately break your application? What will you do? Right, so that you must think about that and overcome that obstacle. Okay, then lastly, all your scripts must have proper XML comments and file headers. Right, so this is something most of you are missing for your previous assignments. So hopefully you all can work on that for this IP. Okay, so just some guiding factors. Okay, first, identify the limitations of your chosen platform. Okay, then try and understand the provided APIs for your chosen hardware. Right, so AR will be Vuforia, then VR will be your the toolkit that we've used, and then MR is of course MRTK from the masterclass. And then after that, you can research on existing applications for some references. Okay, then you can start prototyping your content and interactions. And then you can plan the flow of progress for your application. And then after that, create your proper game loop. And once you're all done with that, you can start on your commenting and documentation process. Okay, so for ITD submission, there are, I believe, 4 things. Okay, so first is your project, of course. And then the entire project should be in this folder. And after that will be your build, all right? Because for this assignment, for the IP assignment, you're required to deploy onto your target machine. So in this case, AR will either be your APK or your iPhone if you want to try. And then for VR, it's either your Oculus Quest or Samsung. And then your MR, lastly, is your APPX file. Right, then you should have a README, okay, that details your controls, etc. Okay, you all should be quite used to this by now. And then the 4th one will be a walkthrough video that covers the start of the app to the end of it. Okay, and then the last one is basically just taking the first 4 items, zipping it up into one zip file, and then submitting it on Google Classroom. Okay, so that's all for the ITD requirements. Okay, Malcolm, over to you again.
Thanks, yes. This should be ITD. I'll change this later. All right, so for DDA, right, it's pretty straightforward. One is firstly, your JSON file should be well structured, filled with sample content. Some advice is when I go through all your assignments, you should not just think about 1 user or 5 users. You should think even much more, right? 100 users, or what happens when your data scales up, right? That means you should have tests with multiple sets of data. Right, please detail down what kind of data type you are using also in your README. All right, you should have basically your authentication working Firebase with your Unity platform. So some additional ways that you can score is you can do up the website component. This could be an administrative view, or it could be a player, so-called game companion mode. All right. Some additional points, bonus, if you can do the security feature implementation. Make sure the third point is you have a clear walkthrough. This is just a video explanation about the key different DDA components that you are implementing. Although during the Viva you are saying about it, this is sort of more focused into it, so that when we do the playbacks, we have a clear understanding of what you were trying to do. All right. Make sure your README is comprehensive. So some of your READMEs are quite vague, all right, and quite simple. You should include how your data flows within your application and the website itself, right, if you have the website. So last but not least, think about the number of users, right, when it scales beyond, right. So some guiding factors, think about what data structure should you adopt, how are you doing validation, right? How do you validate the user? How do you validate user content and things like that, right? Administrative features, are there any for real-time world updates? What kind of data is being stored? Have you tested, right? Different device, different platforms, right? Different platforms meaning for the web, right? Completeness of project and documentation on database is quite important. Your overall user experience with your XR. So some interesting projects I've seen, they have a very unique experience during the sign-up process. All right, that was packaged into the game itself. So it's not just like a form just pops up just like that. All right, so some very interesting ones. So for assignment 2, I'll give the feedback quite soon. All right, so key submission requirements, database, the walkthrough video, right? The source code I'll be retrieving from the ITD portion, so no worries. Just the web if you have it. Then the README, right? And most importantly, like every module, compile everything together into a zip file and then submit into the ITD Google Classroom. All right. So next, let me just hand over to Madam Ms. Dai.
Okay, hi, good morning. Okay, so for EXD, right, we're just expecting a very thorough and complete proposal. So I believe, yeah, over the past semesters, you have worked on, you have a lot of experience when it comes to coming up with a professionally packaged proposal. So yeah, this is the formatting, and as usual, we're not as, please don't end up answering the points with one-liners. So each point that you see listed here, you have to do a very complete and thorough description, complete with supporting visuals like screenshots or sketches. Okay, so of course, we start off with project overview and design rationale. Why do you choose this platform, and why? And the theme chosen, right? The theme chosen, why is it suitable for this particular platform or device? Okay, then of course you need to state the goals and objectives. The objectives, you have to narrow down to 2 final core objectives to do your usability testing later. Yeah, but you need to list out all the goals and objectives up front within the documentation. Then of course you need to do competitive analysis with at least 2 other competitors. But I understand that for certain products and solutions, it's not that easy to find something that is super identical. So it's okay to just find a similar close competitor. Yeah, that's good enough. Okay, then of course you have to do quite a bit of research, because you're going to work on use different types of devices, right? If you have chosen HoloLens, of course you have to do thorough research. Then of course from the EXD side, what we're expecting is you need to fully understand the UX for the hardware chosen. Okay, then of course technical requirements for both hardware and software as well. Then this so-called newer topic that you have just picked up over the last week, right? I know you already know, right? Inclusive design is not just about designing for people with physical limitations. You see, I have this full list of people with other types of limitations are also included with it. So when it comes to considering what inclusive features that you're going to integrate within your main product, right? yeah, you actually have quite a range of so-called limitations to cater for. It's not just about physical limitations. Yeah. Okay. Can you scroll down further? Okay, then of course, when it comes to your write-up portion for the inclusive design, right, you need to refer to what we just went through within the week 13 slides. Okay, so you also did this quick CA on the different categories, right, of practices. Yeah, so do base your write-up based on these categories. Okay, and yeah, then we're expecting you to implement at least one inclusive feature. It need not be a super, like you need not cater the whole VR app for color blindness. If not, that technically it's not that easy to do. But at least describe at least one consideration. It can be something as simple as using a range of image placeholder that is more culturally sensitive. It can be a very simple example like that. Okay, then of course, please also include your supporting videos. Include the usual wireframes, sketches, mood boards, and of course Photoshop mockups. Okay, because it can help in your planning in the 3D spatial design part. Okay, then of course persona, two sets of persona. It will be best. I know it may be a bit hard to find someone with physical limitation. So probably for the two sets of persona, one can be someone what we call mainstream, and one can be someone who faces a certain level of challenge. It need not be the like the people with physical limitations. If not, yeah, it may not be that easy to find. But probably people who maybe they are considered as a minority. Yeah, then you can hear about their challenges. Then of course the usual user journey, and for usability testing, right? This is not meant to be a demo video of your features. This is meant to make your users at least one of your user persona come in to sit through and test out your product. Okay, so it need not be you need not let the person test out all the features, but state two core objectives for the person to try to achieve. Okay, then as for uploading of video, please upload to iVid2, because recently we are facing a lot of issues with school accounts for YouTube. So please, all groups, please upload your videos to iVid2. Okay, then of course audio and video quality should be clear. Your test subjects feedback and all that, should all be clear. We should be able to hear what they are saying. Then of course you may want to do some editing to add in some captions or add in some title screens to help us understand the flow of the whole usability testing video. Yeah. Okay, so please package your documentation in a professional way. You should already know by now. So it's no longer white background, black text. Okay, so find a proper template. Okay. Yeah, so that's it for me. So I'll pass the time to Q.
Q, are you there? Are you muted?
Oh, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, sorry. So 3DE basically it all depends on what you choose for your team as well as your ITD platform. And then you just build the necessary environment. So in this case, right, it's quite likely that it might not be organic. It could be hard surface stuff. So whatever you learn in 3D, 3RT, last semester still can be applied. Important thing is to make sure that all the things that you do is low poly enough that it can run properly with whichever ITD platform that you choose. VFX is required, so you might need to do some research, because right now whatever you have learned for your VFX is mainly for for organic stuff. So you might need to do something that's much more I mean, like, I don't know, like electrical things when you do something, when you touch some stuff. So those kind of things might be more suitable. So do consider about that, or portals. So do find something that fit your team. Okay. So visual research is important. So next week when you come with your decision of what you want to do for ITD and the team, do the necessary pure visual research, and likely you should also have technical research on what kind of VFX stuff you want to do. 3D modeling, if possible, you do the high poly to low poly baking, but if really can't, then you just stick with the low poly. So in any case, there still need to be that trim sheet method of approaching things. So for low poly, you still also have the trim sheet method, which you are doing with our assignment 2. So do use that. Light baking, need to do that. Post processing, yeah. So ultimately, it needs, whatever you do, your assets should not slow down your experience. Okay. So yeah, what you need to submit, basically, for me, I would say the pure ref file for sure. Your Substance Painter file, if there is, ZBrush. That's considering if you have high poly and low poly baking. Definitely the Unity package file, and then yeah, and also do have the light map image the image of the light map, like what you do for assignment 1 and 2. That's one single screenshot, so that I know that you have done it. That should be it, yeah, because when you do the walkthrough for ITD, I can see what all the assets already. Yeah, that's it.
All right, thanks, Q. Okay, so let's move on to the last few portions. All right, there's a couple of checkpoints for submissions. Okay, so through later. The key thing is during week 15 and week 17, all right, ITD and DDA will have physical classes. The rest, AXD, I understand, is doing online. Same for 3DE, all right? So we will inform you separately on this, all right? So make sure your checkpoints. The other key thing is your submission. So depending on, it should be Thursday or Friday for the showcase and Viva. So we do not want it to drag any further to week 19 and beyond. All right, that'll be quite late. So we are trying to close it. So properly, we are aiming to have it, the Viva, on week 18 on 18 Feb. All right, you can submit all the way up to 2359. So probably after Viva, you can edit, tidy up things, and then finally submit. Okay. So do take time to prep your presentation slides along the way. All right, key points of it, your USP, and how do you want to pitch it. Right. Last but not least, of course, have your team name and everything submitted into the ITD classroom. So this is just for our compilation and archival purposes. All right. So please separate each individual module, or else it's very painful. All right. So please stick to the different submission requirements. Please give us zip files, not RAR files or 7-zip or miscellaneous extensions. So please stick to the requirements listed. Again, please include your team members' names. Multiple times the names are not there. All right. So do understand, like for each lecturer, it's easier for them to see, and your names are there. right? Okay, so this is just the overall marks rubrics. Take note, similar to previous IP, there's a significant amount to your weekly contribution, your peer reviews, and your bybar. Right, so overall marks are subject to your peer review. All right, so don't think like because I'm a friend, I give everything 10, doesn't mean much. All right, so great. Your peers are friendly. Okay, so I think Phil has a question for Q. So big light maps. Yeah, Q, do you want to answer Phil's question?
Get the where's the yeah, check. Conversation. What? I'm trying to see the conversation. Okay, sorry.
So Phil asking what if we don't have big light maps because they are choosing MR.
Oh, MR don't have big light map. Then well, if there's no big light map for if it's because of platform constraint, then it's okay, like just highlight to me lor.
Lynn is asking whether can use assets. I think additional assets should be fine. You just go to credit, if I'm not wrong. Right. Yes, I think Christina's remark is quite clear. Please do not reuse or try and fake in the profile. So some simple way that you do not fake in is do a video recording with the face. All right, you can just include a link of your recording together with your persona. So that's very hard to fake already. All right. All right. Yeah. Additional thing is, if you can, please include your project management. All right. Of course, with ITD, it would be great if you do your Git. All right. It's not just not for us. It's more for you into your personal portfolio, technical portfolio. So it'd be great to prep yourself for your internship in case you're interviewing for a technical role. Scrum is not needed, but it'd be great to practice because eventually during your capstone, you are supposed to be practicing it and there'll be gradings for it. So my personal advice is try and practice as much as possible. At the same time, you are checking in with your teammates, right? So it's like just 5 minutes, just check in. Have you done? So it's a personal reflection. At the same time, you're telling a team, okay, I'm having this issue. Maybe someone else in the team can help to resolve, right?
From 3DE, just double checking. I think you all might want to, because I'm not familiar with the platforms that is being used for ITD and what is the constraints. So it's better that you'll do some technical testing earlier to see whether what you have in mind for VFX, right, will work with the platform. So you might need to do some adjustments accordingly, because who knows, the shader graph thing might not work. So then you need to have a plan B. Okay.
Yes. Thanks, Q. So think about your device limitation, right? And then please report it to Q and Mr. Elias respectively also. All right. Again, late submission is highly not wanted. Please do not plagiarize and please credit your sources respectively. Right. If you want to learn how to reference or credit your stuff, please look at APA citations, different citation formats. All right. So I believe Google Docs or MS Word, right, they allow you to easily cite all these references. Okay. So again, the deadline is on week 18 Feb. So please put it into your calendars. All right, I come to the end of the IP briefing. Are there any questions? Communication installations. All right, I'm just coming back to the grouping first before I go on to the elective briefing. This group very fast. So there's a device chosen. Please include your leaders. So for ML2 is somewhat unique. So every team has to be of team of 5, right? So it's a fixed sizing. Same for, this will be decided with the whoever's that's left, all right? So do not be afraid. Please try and communicate with your tutors also. Yes, Hui Ling. So I would say please try and do proper citation references. It's a good thing because moving on to your capstone and especially in your internship report, you are supposedly to properly cite. And by right, every time you do a project and there's a report, you should do that in the first place. All right, unless it's a GitHub README, then that's different. Okay. Any other questions?
This is 3DE. Just thinking back on Lynn's question about whether you can use assets, right? I guess you are referring to whether you can use some of the Unity assets, stores free assets. I think because of time constraint, I will allow it, but at least each member, right, need to create an 3D asset, right, from scratch, and indicate exactly what you did from scratch in this project, so that you can't be everything is also from the Unity asset store. Then that's ridiculous lah. Okay, and
yeah. So especially for 3D, please check in with Mr. Q. All right. It says no, but use it. How to say? You can use it to build other things. All right, to help into your work creation. All right. So yeah, I think I've come to the end. If there's any questions, please come and talk to us. Just a reminder, Unity certification is tomorrow. If your team has decided on the device, you can collect the device from Mr. Elias. All right, so that'd be great to loan out the device. Yeah, okay. Let me just stop the recording. I thank you all lecturers here. All right, I will proceed on to the electives briefing. Let me just stop. And I'm just going to put in the briefing notes into the MS Teams. All right, yeah. So this is for elective briefings, all right? Lecturers, you can stay along or you may leave if you have other urgent matters. All right, so, okay, let me just start. All right, so for our electives, so this is the last chance to choose your electives for the next semester. Same for this semester, you have the experience of choosing your electives, and we'll tell you what the selections are available. All right, so you have been choosing electives once, right? Again, this is a 4-credit unit elective. So you will be here next sem. All right. So you'll be taking your capstone project at the same time your FP3 and your IS module. I think next sem is something about innovation. So this is 4 CU, so it'll be slightly your year 2 on 14th, 21st, so it'll be soon, due on Friday. So make your choices, rank your choices, all right, and do it properly. There are no conditions on selection, but if you have missed or you have previously failed a module, doesn't matter yet, but you still have to rank just in case you can take the module or you might not take the module. So that will depend on how it works out later. All right. If you miss the deadline for ranking, please make sure you'll be assigned, right, based on whatever's available. Gentle reminder, a module may not be offered if there's a lack of interest. So if there's not enough to form a proper class, that module might not be offered, right? Okay, so for the first elective is 3DP, 3D prototyping. So we'll be going through how to create the different aspects of 3D models, right? Physical models. You do laser cutting at the same time, creating those physical objects. All right, so putting your 3D models to life. All right. You go through understanding how to do and create digital prototypes, how to demonstrate your skills in operating your 3D printers and laser cutters. So this one is a bit tricky, but quite fun. All right. And of course, translate your design. All right. The next module will be DVA, digital video and audio. Right. You are to create, this is a very hands-on module. There's lots of hands-on with the camera and digital production. All right. You learn firsthand how to do proper audio video production. All right. And the different processes with the cameras, lighting, especially physical lighting. All right. And students get to script their own stories and deploy their videos into different platforms. Right. Main thing is still how you can explain and apply the different concepts, all right, in video production. Understand the limitations, right? Cinematic language, proper storytelling conventions and scripting for interactive media, all right? The next one is motion graphics and effects, MGE. Right, you can see all these animated graphics. This is just part of the things that you'll be doing in MGE. So it could be opening titles, some form of storytelling, or visual effects on screen on different devices. So not just large-scale screens that you see, but even on your mobiles. All right. So we aim to allow you to cultivate and also explore the different research and concept development processes. All right. So not just that. All right. So MGE storytelling again. Right. Different form of storytelling. This is a form of storytelling with graphics. You can also translate from your 2D to 3D elements. All right. More importantly, how to sequence your content. Right, how to operate on different timelines with your audio also. I'll just play a short video of what we are looking out for.
Hi, my name's Kate.
Let me just straight so that's better.
Hi, my name's Katie and this is my blog. I absolutely love to be in the kitchen, sometimes cooking, sometimes baking, both things I learned from my mama. I adore spending my Sundays surrounded by cookbooks, reading and pairing recipes to make my weekly menu. Since my profession's never been in the culinary field, you'll often find me performing random acts of baking for the people in my life. On this blog, I plan to document my culinary endeavors, give tips, share recipes, and post pictures to show off my food. Come visit me at adashofthat.tumblr.com.
So this form of storytelling with motion graphics, right, tells a different thing. It's fast, impactful, and also quite delightful. And it's great for your portfolio too. So it's quite applicable skill that you might want to learn. All right, let me just come back to the slide deck. All right. So please make an informed decision. Please do not choose it blindly. Right. You can decide on how you want to choose it. You can rank based on your career goals, what eventual skill you want to learn. You think it's fun or interesting and useful, or something that you want to add on with your skill sets. All right. Please do not rank modules that you think is easy. I think our modules can be quite intense. All right. Or rank that you just want to be in the same class as your friends. All right. So try not to do that. I know some of you are doing that. All right. Just to add on about NG, this is the application you'll be learning should be After Effects. All right. For 3D, prototyping is a third-party tool. All right. Your ranking is based, your eventual outcome for elective is based on your ranking, most importantly, whether the class sizing is available, and depending, then it's based on the results. So if the class is oversized, all right, then it's based on your results. Okay. And if there's any questions, you can look for Mr. Melvin, or you can look for me or Ms. Dai. All right. Reminder, your elective brief ranking. Its deadline is in 2 days' time. All right. So I added links in the chat. You can look at ranking information. At the same time, I've added the files into the general. All right, so you can actually download the elective ranking slide deck, how to log in, and also the IP briefing inside. Any questions at this point of time for electives? Any questions for electives? Okay. If you're okay, can kindly give me a thumbs up or something. That would be quite nice. Thank you. All right, so I'm done with this. So tomorrow is your Unity certification. My advice is you can Google for Unity's certification flashcards or questions or test quiz. There's a lot of different various cheat sheets for it. All right. So it looks like some of the groups are kind of ready. We're almost there. All right. So again, if you're not grouped up, we will add in team members into your team. All right. Okay, these are the devices available for HoloLens, 6 Oculus Quest, 7 Samsung Galaxy, 2 Android Pixels. So we'll not say we are biased on any device, but just choose what you're comfortable with. Okay. No more questions? All right. Okay, so I think we have come to the end. Thank you for your time. Your tutors will see you tomorrow for your certification, and for ICD DDA, we'll see you physically. For MO1 and MO2 will be on Wednesday. MO3 will be on Friday. All right. We will announce it at another time soon.